Hello, people. That's my best attempt at a Claire Khaw impression. I'm not good at impressions, but I had a little fun with that. So this video is just some thoughts on Claire Khaw. She's someone that I've been following on YouTube for a pretty long time. I think ever since I think she did a conversation with Pill Eater, and she has a very lovely voice. Her voice is very, very satisfying to listen to. I feel like she could say almost anything and I would enjoy it. But she also says things that are very interesting. She's a very unique individual and a very, very daring thinker. And she's not afraid to, rustle some jimmies and stir the pot a little bit. And I really like that in her. And I like the fact that she's just out there and open, and she seems to pretty authentically just state what it is she thinks. So there's a lot of really great things to be said about Claire. Now, of course, you can probably already tell that I'm about to say something a little bit more critical, right? That's what you always do. Whenever someone says a bunch of nice things about someone, it's always followed by, but, and here's the but. So this year has been very interesting with her channel because this is when she discovered Jen, aka Church of Entropy, who I guess was recently on JF's channel. And apparently it didn't go so well. I haven't listened to it yet, so I actually have no idea. I'll probably listen to that a little bit later because I'm sure it's very fascinating. But it's been very interesting just seeing this little bit of a journey, this little arc between Claire and Jen develop.
It's like fundamental components, and those are called elements.
Yeah, and it's atoms and neutrons and ions and
there's
protons and things going around these atoms. Is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
An atom is comprised of three different things. So in each atom you have protons, neutrons, and electrons.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there are some atoms that don't have neutrons, but those are like the three basic starting ingredients for atoms. And then out of all the atoms that are possible, you have a total of 118.
118 what?
That's right, elements.
Okay, and what is an element?
And I try to follow it pretty well, but, she posts a lot of videos. It's very hard to keep up all the time. And I'd love to have a conversation with Claire. So, Claire, if you are listening to this, if you've taken the interest and you listen to this video, I'd love to have a stream with you and kind of have a conversation about things. But I get the impression that I'm someone who would annoy you on a very deep level. Claire could never make me hate her, so I'd always be very, very happy to speak with her. But the issue is, so for a while they had this back and forth, and then there was a little bit of a lull on Claire's channel for maybe a couple of weeks or whatever. And then she came back, and I was very happy to see her come back. I had been thinking, it's been a while since I've seen Claire live on YouTube. What's going on? And now she's, really hit the ground running, and I went through a bit of a backlog. And one video she's made recently, she titled it, On Anti-Semites Who Compare Male Circumcision to FGM. And of course, Claire's take on this is horrible. Claire, you're very, very misinformed on this topic. And, I've given you my spiel in the comments section, and you don't have any argument. You can't say anything to respond to my claims that, yes, this is wrong. There's absolutely no justification for it. All you can do is just call me an anti-Semite. And to that I say, kind of fuck you. You don't have genitals that someone has taken a knife to, okay? So I want to make a few points here. First of all, if a person decides that they're going to be an anti-Semite because this Jewish tradition was taken up by their parents of whatever denomination, I don't fucking care if it's Christians or Muslims or whatever. Honestly, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, they're all the same to me. I think they're all garbage and they should all be disposed of. Not the people, the religions. Now, if they can purge something as obviously immoral as infant routine genital cutting from their religions, Great. Like we can, then we can actually see an age of religious tolerance. But it seems to be the case that religious people just can't exist with rational people. They always have to use their stupid LARPing, their stupid imaginary friend LARPing as a justification for horrifically, heinously immoral acts. And then the moment they use their religion as this shield to protect themselves from all criticism, suddenly anybody who attacks their stupid shield, if I'm striking a blow at an argument and they use their shield as a defense and my blow strikes their shield, somehow that's my fault. No. If you bring a religion into this battlefield of ideas, then your religion's going to take some blows. And if you want your religion to not take a hit, then you have to not put it into the realm where we're discussing people's basic human rights, the basic right to own your own genitals. Now, Claire, I understand that as a woman, you don't experience sexual violence. Sexual violence is a men's issue. It is a predominantly, overwhelmingly male issue. And I will state again, people of the future will look upon women of the past, and they will shame the ever-living shit out of them for pretending that sexual violence was a women's issue. It never was. It never will be. And, we're going to see all kinds of apologetics of, oh no, women actually cared about men the whole time. They just, didn't have a way of saying it for over a century of having a gender equality movement. Whatever. And I get it. You're one of these women who's, pro-traditionalism, right? You look at the differences between men and women and everything, and you, indulge in this complementarianism or whatever, and say, oh, we need to have the patriarchy again. Rather than asking women to man up, rather than asking of women that they do something beyond just not being a whore, instead of not being a whore and also being a decent human being that contributes to society and doesn't, apologize for genital mutilation, rather than that being the standard for women, we just say, oh no, as long as women aren't whores, they can just be uteri. They can be uteri that stay at home and get protected, and that's a fair exchange somehow. Whatever. I think that's stupid. I think complementarianism is dumb. I think that men make better men, women can't be men, but also men are better women than women are women. And that's kind of the status quo. Now, I'm not saying that that's necessarily always going to be the case, and I'm a little bit white-pilled. I do believe that women can man up. I believe that we have reached a technological point where we can say to women, you know what? You can stop being a beta pussy and you can man up and you can actually produce something in the world. But then, of course, all the traditionalist women come in and say, no, I don't want to be a real person. I don't want to be a person who produces anything. I want to have the traditionalist standard again. I want to be the housewife in the post-vacuum cleaner, post-Xanax world where I don't really have any standard. So, so the first thing I'm going to say is, if a person who is circumcised is anti-Semitic as a result, I don't blame them. I really don't blame them. Now, personally, I'm not an anti-Semite. I actually went to a protest. There were about 5 of us, and we were all protesting circumcision, and the majority of us protesters was a Jewish mother and 2 of her children. And I like them. I absolutely like them. To me, what's more important is who a person is individually and what they actually think. Now, do I feel bad for, or do I particularly like, the people who attended the Tree of Life synagogue when they were performing a bris? No, I don't like those people. Do I think they deserve to be murdered? No, I won't say that I think that every single person attending deserves to be murdered, but do I feel bad for the ones who are murdered? I don't feel bad for them. Now, this isn't hatred. This is not hatred. You might call it a psychotic indifference. Whatever. I'm not sure how that's any different than having an indifference to the suffering of literal babies. I understand that if a infant female is suffering and crying, then oh my gosh, you have all the heart in the world for that. But if it's a male, no, fuck it. Right? So I'm living, in America. We have a society where we have the majority of people who are indifferent to the suffering of male babies, who are the most vulnerable class of human beings on the planet. Male infants actually have a higher mortality rate than females do, right? Male infants are more vulnerable than female ones. It's marginal, but that's the point. Um, and there's no care, there's no deference to like let's not torture babies because they're male. And I'm not gonna hear sweet fuck all from anybody who tells me that I'm a psychopath or I have no heart or I'm a monster for whatever I think, when my perspective is based on every single human being having a right to their own body. And I understand that as a woman, your genitals aren't on trial. And you don't know what that's like. You don't know what it's like to have to make an argument to someone to convince them that males are entitled to keep their entire penis. And it's not something I like talking about. We didn't pick this issue. We didn't pick this body part. We are not the ones obsessed with it. It's the people who are torturing infants, who are raping them with knives and cutting off parts of their genitals. They need to be held accounted for, and we need to stop euphemizing it. It's not circumcision. It's genital cutting, which is the most clinical and neutral way you can refer to it. It is mutilation. It is wrong. And any religion that has failed to condemn genital mutilation or can only condemn it on grounds of, oh, well, as long as we protect the girls, then we're fine, it's a moral failure. That alone proves that these religions are moral failures. So Judaism is a failure. Christianity, failure. Islam, failure. Now, I get that you have this version of Islam in your head, which is secular. You have secular Quranism, and that's going to solve everything in the West because reasons. It's interesting to listen to. I appreciate that you have a unique perspective, but the only reason that you're defending this is because you understand that, at least in your understanding of it, your genitals won't be on trial. But if all the males are, fuck them. You don't care. And that's monstrous. It's absolutely monstrous. The other thing I'm going to add is that you noted, oh, well, some women have an aesthetic preference. And I criticized you for saying this. And I'm 100% correct in doing this. I will note that any woman who prefers a cut male to an uncut male, if you could actually get the man hard, the appearance would be identical. So every single woman who says that she prefers circumcised males, it's because she is not able to satisfy her man sexually. It's because she's not able to actually stimulate a proper erection in her man. So I'll let that speak for itself. Draw your own conclusions. What else is there to say? So yeah, if you're concerned about preventing anti-Semitism and the horrors of religious discrimination, well, Jews need to purge circumcision from their religion. And if they're going to use their religion as a shield to protect this practice, then I'm sorry, that shield's going to take a bashing. That's the nature of it. Use it as a shield, your shield gets hit. Your religion is something you choose. And if you choose a religion that defends raping infants with knives, then, well, that's, what else is there to do? We're supposed to just say, oh, well, you said it's for your religion, therefore we're not going to attack it? No. If you don't want your religion attacked, then stop using your religion as a shield to defend horrifically, heinously immoral actions. And don't talk about society or what you think is good or how you think you're going to solve any problems or do any good for anyone if you can't even respect the right of babies to not be raped with knives. I feel like it's definitely clown world. It's crazy that you need people to say these things because nobody's willing to say it. But yeah, every single person in the Tree of Life synagogue who got killed, they were complicit to a sacred gang rape. Every single one of them. And I don't want to live in a world where that happens, but people are too polite to point it out. I want to live in a world where that doesn't happen. If you want there to not be this violence against people based on religion, then one, again, not the only, I'm not saying this is the only cause, but one very important cause of that violence is religious people doing despicably, heinously immoral things and using their religion as a cover for it. And it's not just the Jews, it's the Christians and the Muslims. They're all on the hook for it. And if you willingly identify with and fraternize with people who do this thing, then how is that any different from saying, hey, most of my friends are rapists, but it's okay. I don't personally rape people, so you can't hold me to any kind of standard, right? It's just like Andrew Yang says he's personally against circumcision, but he won't dare tell Ben Shapiro to his face that, no, it's wrong, it needs to be made illegal, and every single person who has ever perpetrated an act of genital cutting on an infant should be rounded up into a death camp and executed. What other conclusion could you possibly come to? That is the only stance that any person with any pulse on morality and ethics could possibly take. So, thanks for indulging me. I hope everybody had a nice day, and keep it easy.